Minister, we all rightly applaud the heroic efforts of nurses during this crisis. For them, turning up to work every day is brave. Not only do they play a central role in ensuring that 70% of COVID-19 patients recover from this deadly virus, but they comfort terrified patients and spend time with the dying in their final hours. Too many people have paid too high a price for doing their duty. Almost 1 in 3 health workers have now contracted COVID-19. Nurses deserve more than our thanks and our applause. They now work long hours on modest pay to provide the most vital service in our time of crisis. Despite the absolute necessity of the work and the dangers they expose them to, their overtime is taxed at the higher rate. In financial terms, we thank them for going the extra mile by taxing them. It seems inevitable that we need some sort of stimulus package to kickstart the economy back to life, and you've clearly outlined exactly how that will work. Will the Minister consider providing tax relief to nurses as part of such a stimulus?
Deputy Peter Burke.
Orla, just to raise the issue in relation to interest rates in our banking sector. Obviously, if you take someone at the moment who has an average mortgage of €200,000, currently at 3.25%, they will pay around over €2,500 interest over the period of the pandemic. And people are very concerned now that our interest rates are distorted compared with the Eurozone. And banks are not passing this on to our customers. And it's very clear in terms of, I was speaking to an individual who is self-employed this week, who has 4.75% on his variable rate mortgage. He's self-employed, so it's not a matter that he can go and switch his mortgage, because the banks have obviously very strict protocols and procedures now. So I think it's very clear that we need to do something on this. The Deputy Governor of the Central Bank has been on the record saying that the banks are charging double the amount in interest rates now that are needed to be profitable. And it's something I think banks should show solidarity. There's no need to be gouging customers in terms of their interest rates through a very serious and significant challenge to our country. I welcome the engagement the Government has had with them last week, and I think we need to continue to take a tough stance on this.
Deputy Joe Carey.
Shannon Airport is a driver of economic activity in the Midwest and the Western region. I've pulled the group of Midwest Oireachtas members together, and we had an inaugural meeting of that group this week to support Shannon Airport. It's very clear that key sectors in our economy will need recovery plans and stimuluses, including aviation and tourism. I just want to get the Minister's views in relation to that, and I also want to get the Minister's views in relation to the extension of the wage subsidy scheme. It's key for aviation, it's key for tourism, it's key for all our sectors. I just want to get his views in relation to that.
And finally, Deputy Carol McNeill.
Thank you for updating the House on your work in relation to the maternity issue. Of course, it's a matter of legitimate expectation for women coming back to work. Just in relation to your comments in relation to international sentiment and our ability to continue to borrow, what's your own view of the trajectory on deficit reduction, not just in Ireland, but what's the kind of the evolving view in Europe? Deputy O'Donnell mentioned the Macron Fund. What's your own view, Minister, in relation to how that might be paid for, and do you believe there may be a risk in relation to tax harmonisation? And I prefer to get answers than to speak any further. Thank you.
Much can Corla, and thank you to the deputies for the questions they've raised there. If I begin with the point there that was put in to me by Deputy O'Donnell there, in relation to how money from the European Recovery Fund will be allocated, the European Commission is going to perform an independent assessment regarding how countries have been affected by COVID-19. I would expect included in those criteria will be the mortality levels within particular countries, and also the level of income that those countries have per head of population, and any fall across that period. In relation to the maternity leave point you've made, again, just want to indicate again my understanding of why this is an issue, and we are, as I've said before, looking at a number of avenues in relation to that matter. In relation to what Deputy Burke raised there about interest rates, I'm not in a position, nor indeed are the Central Bank in a position to determine or set what interest rates are. And the reason why interest rates are high on existing contracts for mortgages, many different levels, many different reasons why. One of them is where we have been historically with non-performing loans. Another one is the level of capital that many of our banks currently have to hold, which is very different to the European norm. But a point that I have emphasised in the past, and I have seen progress on it, is that new loans that are offered should be at interest rates that are more competitive. And there has been some experience of that happening, Deputy. In relation to Deputy Carey, I absolutely understand the role of aviation as a catalyst for economic recovery. And as part of that, I understand the role of Shannon Airport. And as Minister for Transport, I had the opportunity to meet them on many occasions with Deputy Carey. I'll work with him and his group in relation to the role of different airports. But you'll be aware of, for example, the announcement that has been recently made by Dublin Airport Authority. It is a sign of the challenge that many airports now currently face. And what we'll have to do is see if there's a way of working with the sector as a whole, or with those airports, our state airports, in their entirety, to see how they can be supported as we look at how our country is reopened across the coming weeks, months and beyond that. In relation to the point that was raised there by the Deputy in relation to the higher rate of income tax for overtime payments for nurses, absolutely understand why you're making that point, Deputy. And again, I want to concur with you in recognising the huge contribution that our nurses are making in our hospitals day and night at the moment. I hope you'll understand, though, that I can't signal out any particular public servants, no matter how much I value them, for additional tax treatment versus other ones. We are going to be entering a period of time when, as our economy recovers, we're going to need to be very careful about how we manage money and ensure that it is used in the most effective way. But I understand why you're making your point to me, and I absolutely share your appreciation for the work that our nurses are doing at the moment. In relation then to Deputy McNeill, again, I've heard what you have to say there in relation to the maternity leave issue, which, as I've indicated to the House, I'm aware of. In relation to the recovery fund and expectations that I have regarding what is going to happen to deficits in Europe across the future. As we work our way through this COVID crisis at the moment, deficits for every member of the European Union are raising very quickly in 2020. What I do expect will happen over time is, for reasons in relation to the financial markets and then the gradual normalisation of the budgetary framework of the European Union, those deficits will fall. But the pace at which they will fall at this moment is unclear, because we're unclear about where we stand with COVID and the public health of Europe. I believe it is the safest place for Ireland that we have a credible pathway for reducing our deficit once we regain our public and economic health. And I believe it's in our interest to do that. But for 2020, it's already clear, as I said to Deputy McGrath, that we will be delivering a very significant deficit for this year.
Thank you, Minister.